Amazon. Flash briefing.
Jamie, here's your flash briefing. In NPR News. Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Janine Herbst. Former President Donald Trump is expected to self-surrender to authorities in New York next week after a Manhattan grand jury indicted him on charges tied to his alleged role in a hush money scheme involving an adult film star. NPR's Windsor Johnston has more. The indictment is expected to be kept under seal until Trump's first appearance in court. His attorneys say the former president has committed no wrongdoing, and he plans to fight the charges. In a statement on Thursday night, Trump called the indictment an act of blatant election interference that would backfire on Democrats. He also attacked the New York District Attorney, Alvin Bragg, who brought the charges. Congressional Republicans immediately came to Trump's defense shortly after the indictment was handed down, including House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, who threatened to hold Bragg accountable for what he calls his unprecedented abuse of power. Windsor Johnston, NPR News. President Biden and First Lady Jill Biden are headed to Rolling Fork, Mississippi today after a recent tornado killed more than a dozen people. The Bidens will meet with the residents of the community and first responders, as NPR's Deepa Shivaram reports.
The White House says the president will announce that the federal government will cover the full cost of Mississippi state emergency measures. The funding will cover things like removing debris, operating shelters, and paying first responders who are working overtime. Biden will also announce that the government will open 4 disaster recovery centers in 4 counties in the state. The Bidens will be joined by Mississippi's governor and other local officials. Deepa Shivaram, NPR News, Washington.
A federal judge in Texas has struck down an Affordable Care Act mandate requiring most private health insurance plans to provide free preventative care, including screenings for some cancers and for diabetes. The Biden administration is expected to appeal that ruling. Stocks opened higher this morning as the Commerce Department reported somewhat lower inflation last month. NPR's Scott Horsley has more.
Consumer prices in February were up 5% from a year ago, according to the Commerce Department's inflation yardstick, which is closely watched by the Federal Reserve. That's a slightly lower annual inflation rate than the previous month. So-called core inflation, which excludes food and energy prices, was also lower at 4.6%. Prices rose 0.3% between January and February. Personal income was also up 0.3% last month, while personal spending rose just 0.2%. Spending on goods was flat in February, while spending on services was up. The personal savings rate was also up last month as people held on to 4.6% of their disposable income. Scott Horsley, NPR News, Washington.
And on Wall Street, the Dow is up 169 points. The Nasdaq is up 63, the S&P 500 up 19. You're listening to NPR News.
Are we?
At least 35 people are dead in central India after part of a Hindu temple collapsed. NPR's Lauren Freire reports from Mumbai. That accident happened Thursday.
The victims fell into a well at a Hindu temple in the central Indian state of Madhya Pradesh. They'd been celebrating the festival of Ram Navami and were standing on an iron grill and tiles that had been laid over the well when the structure caved in. Dozens of people fell into muddy waters below and then were hit by falling debris. The Indian army was called in to help. Rescuers pumped water out of the well and used ropes and ladders to pull out bodies. But some witnesses told local media that it took more than an hour for the first ambulance to arrive. Building collapses are common in India because of poor construction and failure to observe regulations. Lauren Freire, NPR News, Mumbai.
Finland will join NATO after Turkey formally signed off on its entry into the military alliance. The Turkish parliament cast the last vote needed for Finland's inclusion, which means the alliance's border with Russia now doubles. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg says Finland will join the alliance in a few days. It is a blow for Russian President Vladimir Putin, who has tried to block NATO's eastward expansion. Turkey's also been blocking Sweden's NATO bid, claiming it tolerates militants that Turkey says are terrorists. Crude oil prices are trading higher at this hour, up 1.3% at $75.33 a barrel. On Wall Street, stocks are trading higher. I'm Janine Herbst, and you're listening to NPR News from Washington.
This message is brought to you by NPR sponsor Progressive Insurance. You call the shots on what's in your podcast queue. Now you can call them on your auto insurance too with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive.
Alright, Amazon.
Tell Progressive
Skip.
how much you want to pay for car
Amazon.
insurance, and they'll
Skip.
In NASA news, media are invited to a NASA media teleconference 1 p.m. EDT Wednesday, April 5th, to discuss the upcoming launch of the first space-based instrument to observe major air pollutants across North America every hour during the daytime.
Yep, there it is. Another pollutant. Another pollutant.
NASA has established the new Moon to Mars program office at NASA headquarters in Washington to carry out the agency's human exploration activities at the Moon and Mars for the benefit of humanity. Amit Kshatriya will serve as the agency's first head of the office, effective immediately.
Not do anything about it. It'd be great.
NASA has awarded a contract to the University of Colorado Boulder for the management and operations of the Snow and Ice Distributed Active Archive Center, part of NASA's Earth Observing System Data and Information System.
That's all we're really doing.
NASA is taking home the honor of the best place to work in the federal government among large agencies for 11 years in a row, as ranked by the Partnership for Public Service. NASA has selected Dr. John B. Olenson as the new manager of the agency's Gateway program and international collaboration building humanity's first lunar space station, which will support Artemis missions to the moon. In weather. In Seattle, it's 44 degrees Fahrenheit with cloudy skies. Today, you can look for rainy weather with a high of 46 degrees and a low of 39 degrees.
Alright.
From NASA.
Amazon. Off. Off. Amazon. Tell us a joke.
Why don't you find all-you-can-eat restaurants on piers? Because Fisherman Wharf it all down.
Oh, wow. Fisherman's Wharf? Okay.